That is so weird
Yeah.
to me
Yeah.
that people like want to watch dogs and
Isn't
cats
it?
having
It's-
sex.
I'm
all
a
has to
pimp.
do with money. Yeah, literally.
What is this?
That was amazing the way you just said that.
Hi, I'm a pimp.
But doesn't it blow your mind?
It does.
You make your money by having animals have sex and then you sell their babies. Is
Weird.
there much that's sicker than that?
Very weird.
Twisted.
Kink.
If you really think about
Yeah,
it.
if there were humans, we would be like, whoa, arrest that person.
This no-kill group that I was referencing earlier, I remember I met with them years ago to just try to see if we could find some common ground, even just in promoting spaying and neutering, and we couldn't, sadly. But they're opposed to mandatory spay neuter, which blows my mind. But anyway, they said, you're so risk averse. And I was like, yes, I am. Yes, I am. That's fine. If you want to call me that, or if you want to call this, PETA is so risk averse. Yes, we are. Just like a parent is going to look at a busy street and go, yeah, no, I don't think I want my kid playing in the street.
Right.
Because they'd risk getting hit by a car.
Right.
And who has to deal with it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are
Yeah.
dealing with
Yeah.
it.
Right.
When you look at save rates and you look at youth rates,
Yeah.
euthanasia rates, how does this hurt the animals in the end when you look at these rates?
Yeah. I mean, it hurts them because people don't understand the whole no-kill argument.
Yeah,
you know?
they don't.
And it doesn't, and everything that goes into the save rate, the 90% save rate, is just such garbage because it doesn't talk about all the animals that were put out on the street. And it doesn't talk about how seldomly the animals who are in shelters are getting walked. Or and I'm talking, that's dogs. I mean, what about the cats?
I know.
You know, I mean, it's such a bad situation for all of them, but the answer is so easy and accessible. You know, it's just that city shelters are often overseen by mayors who just want it to go away. It's like, I don't want to talk
Like,
about
put
it.
a sticker on it, a
Yeah.
smiley sticker on it.
Exactly.
It's like, there's nothing smiley about this.
No, they don't want to delve into what it's really going to take. And we said to Garcetti and we said to Bass after that in Los Angeles, it's going to be a bitter pill to swallow initially. It's going to hurt. Euthanasia rates will go up because you have to open your doors. Our big push for this is should be a shelter. It's a refuge for animals. If they need a place to go, you must open your doors to them.
Right.
It is a cruel world out there, and no one knows that better than PETA and our caseworkers who see exactly what these animals go through every single day.
What's going on in the fields?
Yeah, I mean, our caseworkers work in about 250 communities in Southern Virginia and Northern North Carolina, and that's just a little area. But then we've got our national caseworkers who are responding to cruelty cases everywhere. And so what they see is, you see cats being poisoned, like we said. You see animals being set on fire.
Horrible.
You see animals being beaten with baseball bats.
And I hate those stories.
Yeah, it's devastating, and it is what people do. And and you can't just close your eyes and go, la, 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 I don't want to hear it, I don't want to know
Which
about
is what
it.
most of people do.
Understandably, it's hard. I mean, you know, the whole no-kill movement, and the first people to kind of talk about it, I think their hearts were in the right place. I mean, the bottom line is there was a time when
It was
there
manageable?
yes. And there, you know, you had your dog pound, which meant that if you got a dog off the street, there wasn't a 5-day waiting period to try to reunite with their person. They were shot or gassed.
Horrible.
They were treated like trash. And oftentimes they were overseen by the trash department in a city.
Wow.
So people came along and said, whoa, 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 hang on. They're more than that. You know, they're companions, they're our family.
Right.
So that was the right
Direction.
response, right? I mean, that is taking a good thing and saying they're worth something.
Yeah.
But it was then they just like skipped all the steps, you know, and just decided to go for no kill instead of doing the prevention.
There's a lack of education here too, because you have these people that are living in some of these communities that don't have money, that don't have access to vet care, that are told that, some of these dogs are made to be outside and these dogs are meant to be inside, and they don't know how much responsibility it takes to have an animal and to care for them and to feed them and to realize that they are children. Animals are people too. And so I think that PETA is doing a great job also at educating people when they go and they're like, okay, they need food and water daily.
Yeah.
You know, let's start there.
Right.
They should be kept inside.
Clean water.
Clean water, right. I mean,
Socialization. I
Yes.
mean,
Socialization.
socialization's key.
what is the immediate solution that we can tackle when we look at, okay, we can't get people to stop breeding dogs right away today
Right.
at this very moment.
Yeah.
It's going to take years of legislation to do that. So what is the immediate solution? And then long term, what would you like to see?
I mean, the immediate solution for each individual is never buy a dog or a cat. Decide today you will never, ever, ever buy. Always spay and neuter. Easy peasy things to do.
Yeah.
Go to your shelter and always adopt. Right? That's the number one thing to do. Also, put pressure on your city to give the funds to the local animal sheltering system that allows them and that also mandates that they take in all comers, because that's what shelters are for. Anything less than that is a dereliction of duty and a complete betrayal for these animals.
Yeah.
It's
So
fraud.
so never ever buy from a breeder. There's no such thing as a responsible breeder.
No.
That's what everybody can do today.
What
And
about
then-
shelters? Should
yeah.
they make bigger spaces like these open admission shelters?
No. Overall, creating more is only going to, they're all going to fill up very quickly. So I think what shelters need to do is they need to impress upon the people who make decisions and who fund them and say, we need to be open admission and you need to fund us and you need to help us get these volunteer programs underway. You know, in Los Angeles, one of the issues with volunteers is they're the ones blowing the whistle on the quality of care in the shelters. And
Yeah.
so they're not encouraging volunteers because they don't want the whistle blown.
But that's tricky because
It is.
I would do that
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I do think that for a volunteer program, it has to be very well organized. You
Right.
do have to, because you know, you're also putting these animals in the care of someone. Which putting an animal in your care is one thing. Taking
Yeah,
someone else,
someone
they
else.
have to be careful.
For sure. I get that.
Yeah, and then they also they have to know who's coming and going, and they also have a responsibility because there are aggressive animals, and
Right.
you know, there have been people who've been attacked
Right,
in Los
right.
Angeles specifically. So they have
I get that.
all of these things they have to worry about.
Right.
But this is where city government needs to step in and give
Right.
them a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, from the top down, from the mayor down, stop using the no-kill moniker as if
Right.
it is the be all
answer.
end all.
Yeah.
Exactly, because what you're doing too is you're diminishing the job that people are doing every day.
Right.
You're denigrating people who have to make these tough decisions to no
Right.
fault of their own.
Right.
And we all have to change our language and recognize that regardless of what's going on in these shelters, these are jobs most of us don't want and most of us can't do.
It's really difficult. It's taxing.
Yeah, it is. It's a heartbreak. It's an
Yeah.
absolute heartbreak.
Yeah, sometimes I read some of these stories and I'm like, I look at what these shelters are doing when it comes to like the no-kill shelters trying to just adopt out the animals because they don't want to have the euthanasia rate. And there were stories where they would give them trazodone and adopt out the animals, and people think, oh,
They're
this
totally
dog is
chill.
so
Yeah.
chill. And
Yeah.
then next thing you know, the dog is off the medicine and he's
That
like a
is
maniac.
Insane.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and several years ago now, it was pre-pandemic, I actually went to one of the no-kill shelters in Los Angeles. It was like the model no-kill shelter as brought to you by this organization. And I went in to see, and I was like, this is gorgeous. And this is how every animal should live. Every animal, it wasn't even a cage, it was a room. There was a description of what every animal was like. And I said, well, this is gorgeous. This is what we should be striving for.
Right.
But you can't do it when the numbers are so high.
Right.
You know, and this other Whatcom Humane Society that I was mentioning, if you go on their website, you see they've taken the time to meet and know every animal. And they describe for you, and they're transparent. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, transparency.
Some of these animals, some of the dogs, they're not good with kids.
Yeah.
Or they're not good with cats, or they're not good with other dogs. And they know that. They get to know them, and they say, if you are someone who's sedentary, this dog's not for you.
Right.
They don't want adopting animals out, so it's a revolving door. We call it
know.
drive-by adoptions. The no-kill people will practically just toss a cat onto your front yard
Horrible.
just to be able to say that they didn't euthanize anyone.
I know.
You know, so it's you know, for me, it always comes back down to a quality of life. Because if I see an animal and I think you're either going to spend the rest of your days or 5 years in a cage, or we make the decision to euthanize you, and it comes down, can you imagine? PETA is an organization that doesn't want you to put a slice of cheese on your sandwich.
Right.
So if we're saying that in some cases there is a fate worse than death, and
Right.
euthanasia is the best thing for them, you can be damn sure that that is going to be the right choice.
Well, I would just like to say anybody that eats animals, first of all, should not be making the call what we should be doing with
Right,
animals.
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
You don't. You act like you care about animals, but then you're eating like a freaking chicken sandwich for
Yeah.
lunch. Like,
It's
do
like,
not.
hold up.
Hold up,
Shut up. Your
motherfucker.
chicken breath is making me want to vomit.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
I mean, you're the last person I would take advice from
Right.
as to what to do with an animal.
Yeah.
So you're worried about like euthanasia rates, yet you cause thousands of animals to
I
die
know.
every single year. Get
Yeah.
out of here.
People
Yeah.
are such
Get outta
hypocrites.
here.
My friend, I was on the phone with my friend today. She will hate me if she saw this episode.
What's
And
her name?
I'm not gonna say her name, but she's gonna know if she watches this episode, which she won't. But
I'm sending it to her.
I was just kind of like, she was talking about this animal abuse, and I'm like, you give your dog freaking eggs, woman. Like, you were prioritizing his needs over the other animal needs. And I'm like, they're both horrible.
Male
but-
baby chicks are ground up in the egg industry for everybody that's wondering why we don't want to eat eggs. And also chickens, hens are kept in cages and then they are slaughtered after a horrible long life of suffering.
And they want to live. So it's like, don't be a major hypocrite. You're right. This is abuse. This shouldn't be happening. But also, stop eating cheese and feeding your dog quail eggs. You stupid bitch.
Dogs can be vegan. So
Dogs can be vegan.
Very healthy and vegan. And studies
Right.
actually show that they live longer. So we should do a whole
Exactly.
episode on that.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we've covered so much.
Right.
with
And there's
this-
still so much
There's
to
still
cover.
so much to
Yeah.
cover. I just want to open the floor up if you wanted to add any final words, thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, I think, when it always comes down to it, it's a matter of empathy.
Right.
It's a matter of empathy with what you eat, what you wear, and with the companion animal issues, and having empathy for the people doing the hardest work.
Right.
So before you start pointing the finger at shelters and animal control officers, stop for a minute and think about what their day is going to be like,
Right.
because it's hell. It is hell to see, because most people go into this work because of a love for animals and companion animals specifically. And so for them to have to go and then their name called, So empathy there, empathy for animals, for the animals themselves. It isn't okay to turn them away and
Right.
just go, okay, well, I didn't see what happened.
Right.
Think ahead and think, this is what could befall this animal, and I'm not going to be responsible for that. So I think that's how I would say is just, we have a new campaign called Every Animal is Someone. And every animal is someone. So when you look at that, that coyote running down the street, have sympathy. When you see a cat, who looks homeless, do everything you can. And call people out on their cruelty. If you do see someone, you mentioned earlier, someone's being angry and picking a dog up by their throat.
Right.
Stop and talk to them. Be careful.
Right. Yeah, be careful because they're
But
crazy.
yeah, people are crazier than ever. But always stop and say something.
Yeah.
My background in life essentially is I was brought up by these two parents who were not placard carrying activists.
Right.
But they knew, and it's very interesting because my father comes from an incredibly racist family in Louisiana. He's a Cajun from Abbeville, Louisiana. And he left when he was 15. And my mom, is who she is. And they brought my brother and me up saying, be kind. Whatever you do, be kind. And when people in their neighborhood were circulating a petition to get the one black family who had just moved in to move out, as if you can do that with a petition. But anyway, they tried to intimidate them. My father kicked them off our property, went across the street, befriended, and they were friends for life. I wasn't even born yet. This family told me the story of my father having done that. This is all to say that both of our parents taught my brother and me, it doesn't matter if you are black, gay, older, or you're an ant on the street just trying to eke a little, just trying to survive. Yeah. Stop and consider them as who they are, because every animal is someone, meaning humans and other animals. And so from that, I just became a loudmouth animal rights activist, a placard carrying. I went a little bit further than they did, but that's the lesson we should be teaching our friends and our kids and our parents and our uncles and aunts and cousins and everything else.